Hello, I'm Ann Johnston, and today I will be giving a speech about poetry and clearing up the misconception that people have. One of the main misconceptions is people think that poetry is just like the cat chased the rat on the mat in a hat, but there are many different types of poetry, and poetry goes deep into emotion and expresses so much. There are three genres of poetry. There's lyric, which includes some subcategories as elegy, ode, and sonnet. An elegy is usually sad, thoughtful, sometimes about death. An example is W.H. Auden In Memory of W.B. Yeats. In the deserts of the heart, let the healing fountain start. In the prison of his days, teach the free man how to praise. If you see in that, it rhymes, and most lyrical poems do rhyme a little bit. An ode is a serious poem that is set in structure. And not to be religious, but one thing is Ode to You, O Jesus Christ. And then sonnets are very strict 14-line poems. Most people know sonnets as Shakespearean sonnets and are very set. The second type of poetry genre is a narrative, and narratives tell a story. There are two subcategories of narrative: an epic, which isn't like an epic jump or an epic dance move, but it tells a story of a historic figure. And then there's a ballad, and it pretty much recounts a tragic event and emphasizes the drama. An example of an epic is once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many quaint and curious volumes of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping on my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. Many of you probably know that poem, because it's The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. That is a great example of an epic because it's him telling a story of how he was in his chamber and he suddenly heard a tapping. The third type of genre is dramatic, and it tells a story or portrays a situation. There are two main types. There's blank verse, which is unrhymed and similar to normal speech. An example is something there that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen ground swell under it, and spills the upper boulders in the sun. That's Mending Walls by Robert Frost. In that, you can tell it's more similar to speech than gently tapping on my chamber door. The second type of dramatic poetry is dramatic monologue. Many of you probably know monologue, just speaking on and on and on. But dramatic monologue is an imagined speaker speaking to a silent listener. So that would be such as in a play when everything stops and the person's inner voice starts talking and isn't really talking to a specific person, but is just talking and talking. It could be about their inner feelings, a situation, or anything like that. So that's a good example of a monologue, and a dramatic monologue is just dramatic parts of that. So if somebody's in love, just the emphasis of their love. So there are many misconceptions about poetry, but it isn't that difficult to clear up. So poetry isn't just rhyming, it shows emotion, it shows emphasis on certain things, it shows character, and poetry is one of my passions. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you with my next